So
Yeah.
welcome. I was just kind of
Thank
introducing
you.
what was going on with you and your businesses. So basically, we wanted to take this morning to share another inspirational story, and this is yours, about, moving forward and owning your time. And I think you said it when we were talking, and I used it in the title, Owning Your Dream.
Mm-hmm.
So why
Yes.
don't you tell us when you decided to kind of switch your life around and what inspired the businesses? I know you have two.
Absolutely. Yeah. So let's see, I worked in corporate America for about 18 years and I had a great job. I was in pharmaceutical sales. I called on hospitals. To be really honest with you, I was making really good money and I was good at it.
Mm-hmm.
So I know sometimes people think that you have to be in a quote unquote a bad job or
Right.
something horrible has to happen. And that wasn't the case at all for me. I mean, I left that job the year after I hit President's Club. So I left at the peak of my career. And I had always been interested in real estate and had wanted to get into real estate investing and kind of fell into it in essence. And I got a coach and a mentor. So I did that as a side business for about 2 years. Well, I still worked full time. So I know sometimes people are like, oh, that's awesome. You double dipped, you had double income. And I'm like, well,
No, not really. You're building
it's
it.
not, yeah, it's
Yeah.
not really awesome because you're working. I mean, I was working from 5 a.m. to in the morning till 11 p.m. at night. We had a little one. So then let's see, he's 7 now. He was about 3. So I'm also raising a family in the interim, but it was really important to me. And as I started doing that, I realized because I just always had this, I call it like the itch.
Right.
And I just knew that I was supposed to be doing something else. And I had checked every box, but it wasn't fulfilling. And
Right.
I knew it wasn't what I was supposed to be doing or what I was here. I believe that everyone has a why and a purpose. And I knew that it wasn't meeting either one of those things. And so as I started digging into it, and one of the things I coach on now is owning your own dream because it's so important and so few people do it. And you may think, oh, of course you own your own dream.
Mm-hmm.
But so if anyone's watching this, I would ask you to think for a minute and think, are you living out your dream?
Right.
How did you get where you are today? Was that society's idea, your parents' idea, your spouse's idea? Was it your own idea?
Right.
How did you get to where you're going and why are you in that role? So for me, as I got further into it, I really loved the real estate investing portion of it. And so my husband and I did planning for it. And people ask me all the time, like, I think I want to do something different. Should I just quit my job? And that's a personality thing, right? But for me, that couldn't happen. So we had family responsibilities, financial responsibilities. So we had to plan and I'm a big, so I also do business and mindset coaching now. But I'm a big action taker and having an action plan with accountability. So if you have a goal, that's amazing. But you have to know how you're going to get there. So I realized my goal was to leave my job, but I had milestones and things that I knew I had to hit consistently so that my husband and I could sit down and say, okay, the proof is now in the pudding. We know that this can be done. We know that this is where we're going. And now we've seen consistency. So we know that we can extrapolate that out. Because I wanted to be able to replace my income.
Mm-hmm.
And I was making a very, very good income.
Right.
So for me, just to jump ship, not
It's
a
hard
good
to give
idea,
that
right?
up. It's hard to say, I'm going to walk away. You really have to have this inner thing going on where it is a mindset shift because like you mentioned so many things that just like triggered, thoughts and the whole, societal norms, your parents. It's like, okay, you hit the milestones, you're successful. What does that really mean, right? It's what was
Right.
expected, maybe.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And and I was talking to someone yesterday too, and I said, success is defined really differently by everyone.
Right.
So I'm going to define success differently even than I did 10 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So it's
Yeah.
different, not only individually, but also through different seasons in our life.
Yeah, it's
So,
about your own
how,
feelings, how you know,
yeah.
not to get all woo, but really it's how you feel, right? You feel
Hmm.
successful, you feel happy, you're good.
Absolutely. And so initially it was, my goal and my success was defined by money.
Hmm.
And now it's not.
Right.
It's defined by, do I have time freedom? Do I have financial freedom, which doesn't necessarily mean that, it more means like building wealth
Yeah.
rather than having revenue income stream immediate. And a lot of it is time freedom.
Hmm.
I have a 7-year-old and I want to be able to spend time and do, what I can and want with him. I wanted to be able to take
Yeah.
summers off
Yeah.
and have that flex time. And I just didn't, I had a great job with flexibility is the thing,
I did
but
too, right? Work from home,
it wasn't enough.
travel, you kind of make your own,
Mhm.
but there's still, you have no choice but to be in certain meetings, or you're still at the beck
Mhm.
and call, or if you
Mhm.
do have to leave and there's a quota or a project or a deadline, somebody's got to take that over for you, and then
Mhm.
you have to get docked for it, right? You have to take time
Yeah,
off. You have to request it.
absolutely. And it was, I know every year I was like, all right, when is,
Yeah.
because we would have our sales meeting in the
Yep.
spring. Well, we have spring break and they're up north and their spring break's different. So they
Right.
don't care. And, I know one time I booked it, we found out dates and I booked I put in for PTO on the same day. I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm not missing spring break because we
Right.
have a sales meeting. That's not for me.
Right.
And I love working hard, but I'm not that. So at the end of the day, I quit my job the year I turned 40. I did a complete 180.
Mm-hmm.
I now work for myself. I run multiple businesses.
Yep.
And I really, to get to that point, I had to really work on myself and overcome a lot of limiting beliefs around financial limiting beliefs,
Yeah.
entrepreneurial limiting beliefs, and what I could do and how successful I could be. But I'll tell you, I've never looked back. I never have.
No,
I've reinvented
I'm not.
myself at the age
Yeah.
of 40,
And I'm
and
not
it's
there
the
yet.
best
I'm
thing
only,
I've ever done.
yeah, I believe it. And I'm excited that you're doing it 10 years, behind me, so to speak, even though you started ahead of me. And that's, I'm not there yet, but I'm not looking back. And I
Yeah.
have no interest in looking back either. But I agree with you, the financial thing is scary. That is a roadblock for a lot of people.
Mhm.
So, salary aside and paycheck aside and all of that, how did you overcome that? Or what did you and your husband, did you sit down and make a plan? Did you organize your finances? How did you set that up?
Yeah, we did. We made a plan. And so primarily it was around my salary
Hmm.
because that was the biggest piece. So we
Right,
made a plan. We knew, that so I had a car allowance. We knew that we were going to have to cover that,
right.
but we also knew that we could cover that through a business.
Hmm.
So I planned with my husband, but I also planned with my accountant,
Hmm.
and we had accountant and financial planning. So we said, okay, what does this look like? What can we run through the business? What can
Right.
we expense through the business? What can we do? And then, oh, by the way, do we have, and our goal, so over the 2 years, we built up you can call it a slush fund, a reserve, whatever you want to call it. But we built that up so that we had given ourselves the grace to grow, because you're not going to, like, there are people that make,
Yeah.
millions of dollars in 10 days. They hit it and strike it really quick, and that's amazing for them.
And rare.
The re- and rare. So the
Extremely
reality
rare, no
is,
matter what pops up
right.
on your Facebook feed, right?
Yeah. And that's what it is. The
Yeah.
reality is it's hard work. It
Yeah.
takes time and it takes dedication. So you have to provide yourself that runway and know that that's still coming. And it's hard to remember. So now I have multiple businesses, and every time I start a new venture, I kind of forget, right? Like,
Yeah.
I am like, okay, I want to be, and that's my personality. I want to be where I'll be in 5 and 10 years,
Right.
yesterday.
Right.
So I have to always rein it in and always say, okay, remember there's a runway. But it took a lot of planning. And it takes a lot of, so it took planning for me to leave my job, but then it took planning and action steps and accountability after as well.
Yeah.
So I knew the fastest way to success was through coaches and mentors. And I
Yeah.
didn't really, until I became an entrepreneur. So even while I was still working, I had one. And I didn't realize when I was in corporate how important that was. And so I never really had one.
You know, yeah,
And
you take
now,
it a little bit for granted when it's
yeah.
pushed on you, so to speak, or when it's
Yeah.
somewhat forced. But
Hmm.
I would say one of the biggest shifts that I had moving from corporate mindset to being an entrepreneur is is the coaching thing. And, you know, the money part of it. You have to budget. You have to figure out how much money you
Hmm.
have, how much money you can afford to invest in yourself and your business, but you have to do it. And, you know, I would say, you know, people will go to college, right? And they'll spend, I mean, I talked to a friend of mine whose son is going to a private school, private
Hmm.
college next year. It's going to be over $40,000 a year.
Hmm. Yeah.
But people
People do
hesitate
that.
to spend
Yeah.
$1,000 on a coach.
Hmm. I know.
And that's gonna, you know, so that's part of what I want to do with Free at 50 is help with that mindset shift. And I like what you said too about, you know, the finances. You just have to sit down and lay it out. You just have to figure
Hmm.
out, are these expenses flexible? Can we shift how we spend? The
Hmm.
answer is usually yes,
Yeah, absolutely you can.
right?
And it's all in prioritizing,
Yeah,
right? So what is truly important to you? Is it truly important for you to build your business? Because if so, it's a lot easier to give up Starbucks, and I'm not knocking Starbucks. So
no, I
if you love it, that's
think
great for you.
$7 versus for a cup
It's
versus
it's
for a bath at
expensive.
your house.
Exactly.
Yeah,
So it's like, if it's truly important to you and if this is your dream, then you have to make the commitments and the sacrifice
right,
to mirror that, right? So that you see it.
right.
And it is, I mean, it's, and I really underestimated the coaching and mentoring piece. And now I will not go without one. I had a couple months where I didn't
Same.
have one and I was starting to get like, I was starting to freak out a little bit
Hmm.
because it's not even, and I'm a very self accountable person. So for me, it's not the accountability,
Right, me either.
but they help stretch you and they will bring stuff that you had no idea because the reality is this is all new.
Right.
So you have to learn it. And like you said, people will pay for college, but people won't spend one, two, $5,000 on themselves and a mentor and coach. And if that's where you are right now and you're watching this, I really want you to challenge that mindset because you are standing in your own way of your success.
Yeah, and
The
you just
fastest
got to
way to get
budget
to
it
where you're
in.
going, yeah, is a mentor or a coach.
You got to budget it
Reality
in.
is, yeah, you don't know what you're doing. I
And,
didn't know
and the
I'm still
technology,
learning.
you know, the
Oh
technology is
gosh.
so important too because you can't shortchange yourself if you're going to have any business, even if it's brick and mortar, to do something online, which is why I'm doing it right now, right? Why I always
Mm-hmm.
plug Groove because right now Groove is free.
Mm-hmm.
But you're going to need some kind of technology and you have to, and that's where my coach is helping me
Mm-hmm.
with, with me, it's more about the roadmap because I am a shiny object person. I get
Yeah.
distracted and you know, you
Mm-hmm.
see this group talks about Instagram and Instagram will get you $100,000 and do this and Pinterest and she's got me 100% on a roadmap. So
Mm-hmm.
it's like it's not about accountability either. It's like these are your next few things. Don't get distracted, just do those. And then we'll talk.
Yeah, and you
Right?
do, you have to focus. So you
Yeah.
can't be, so we were before on Facebook, on Instagram, LinkedIn, and I think I was trying Pinterest. I'm like, okay, this is not working.
No, you gotta do
So
one at
now,
a time.
yeah, now we're LinkedIn and Facebook
Right.
because that's where my clients are. So that's where I need to be. And I'm a connector, I'm a conversation person, and it's really hard to get that with Instagram. And so it's okay. And we weren't getting the engagement we needed or wanted, so we cut it.
Yeah.
I mean, I
Yeah.
still have a presence, but we post very, very little.
Yeah. I'm the same way. I have a presence and
Mhm.
I've used Canva, which tip for everybody
Yeah.
out there, in my opinion. And
Yes.
I'm not affiliate on Canva. I should be. But really for Canva,
I'm one. We can put a link.
there you go. We'll add your Canva link into the
Yeah.
comments when we're done.
Yeah.
But I do think all of these things are so important to, you know, with me for Canva
Mhm.
or for Instagram, the fabulous thing is I kind of have a, with my brand now every morning, the same thing, and I just use a template. I don't
Mm-hmm.
spend more than 3 minutes a day on Instagram, and it's usually less than 90 seconds.
Right.
It's that.
Yep.
So my focus, obviously, creating this group is Facebook. And I think a really important thing with a coach, like you hit that too, is who is your ideal client audience? You know, for me, it's an audience, it's a reader. For you, it's clients, it's individuals, either on the real estate side or the coaching side. But you have to figure out where your audience is. And I think when you're sitting, if you don't have a team, a marketing team to do the market research, and you don't have an IT team, my biggest frustration all the
Man,
time, you don't have all these,
I miss those two teams.
right? Those are the teams. Somebody posted the other day and in his new
Um,
job, a friend of mine, so Kenny, if he jumps on, it's funny, or anybody that saw it, but he posted something about, you know, his new job, like, whatever, going well or whatever, but he's made lifelong friends in IT, in the IT
mhm.
department. They're already like lifelong friends. And I'm like, I
Mhm.
miss my IT department.
Oh yeah.
You know, I wish I remember those. But you know, that's the whole thing about being an entrepreneur in Facebook groups like this and lives that we're
Hmm.
doing. If anyone can pull even one or two nuggets, whether it's walking away on investing in a coach or taking the time to sit down and figure out your finances,
Hmm.
those are important things.
Yeah.
So when you decided to create your business, you did all of those things, but tell me a little bit on the coaching side. The real estate's kind of obvious, and you have a business mind if you were, you know, farmer rep, you think
Hmm.
sales and business. But how did you decide on the living inspired within side of your business? Where'd that come from?
So it's one of the great silver linings that came out of COVID for me.
Uh-huh.
And I just felt this nagging, and I've always done training, mentoring, and coaching throughout corporate, right? So I was always
Okay.
a
Yep.
sales trainer. I was
Yep.
always mentoring someone and new hire training,
Same here.
and that was me. That was
Yep.
my role in addition to everything else I was doing. So for me, it was just kind of natural, and I missed that piece. And then I had multiple people say, you know what, you should really be a coach. You've really helped me out. You should really coach. And then I felt this nagging, and I believe in abundance and putting it out there. And I'm also a spiritual person and a woman of faith, and it just kept coming up in my morning routine and in my ritual, and it kept coming up. And then it kept coming up, and I was like, what the heck? I'm like, no, I can't have another business. Then it kept coming up. And then people too, from a real estate investing standpoint, people come and ask me, hey, can you help me? Hey, can you help me? Hey, can you help me? And I was like, all right.
Yeah.
So I launched it last year. It is still a work in progress. So we are constantly tweaking things, building things. So it came from that. It came from an ask of others. And at the end of the day, my passion is to serve and help others. Specifically, women entrepreneurs help realize their full potential and own their own dream. And I think as women, sometimes we really struggle with that. So that's my passion. And it came from that. And I love it. I love it. I have a speaking event tonight. I have one in a couple weeks. I'm the chapter director of the Curated Project, which is a great female networking organization. So it all wraps into that,
Right.
and I love it. It's my passion.
Yeah.
So, but I'm giving
And
myself that runway, which is still so hard, right?
Well, and you know, that's another great point. You know, owning your dream is all about what makes you happy, right? We said that in the very beginning. It's just about what you feel successful, you feel
Yeah.
happy. And I
Mhm.
ran a staff training program for like 10 years. And the best part of that for me was watching these emerging leaders. And
It's amazing.
when they quit because they were leaving their hourly paid job in an optometry practice to go do something bigger, I was sad that I lost them, but I was excited, right? Because they're leaving.
Oh
And
yeah.
I started writing, and then I realized, you know, some people were saying how helpful that stuff was. And same as you, I pulled that piece of the passion out of me, and I'm like, okay, that's what I got to do is write this blog and do this.
Hmm.
And so sitting down and figuring out not just your skills and how you can earn income,
Hmm.
but what do you love to do? Because
Yeah.
I'm guessing it doesn't really feel like work. Unless it's
No.
a day where you have a client appointment and you're absolutely not feeling it well or
Yeah.
something. But otherwise,
Hmm.
it's probably not feeling like work, is it?
No. I love it. I
Yeah.
love it, and I love connecting. I love supporting. And so much of the stuff too, it's like, you know, you put out free content because it's, I want to help and support people because it's changing, and owning my dream has literally changed my life. And so I'm a better mother. I'm a better wife. I'm a better friend. I'm a better human. I'm giving back more. I'm making a bigger impact, and I'm living intentionally.
When was
and
an alarm clock? Do you use alarm clocks?
do I?
Yeah,
Mm-mm.
me either. I don't use alarm
No.
clocks. The only time I set an alarm for is Saturday morning to go to the farmer's market early.
Yeah.
I think that it, you know, you're better all of those things because you have the time to focus on it. And honestly, I've never been this well rested in my life.
Yeah.
Whether I wake up at 5
Yeah.
or at 8, it's because my body needs it.
Yeah.
You know?
So I don't have that. I don't have that luxury. I'm still up pretty early. Remember, I also have
I wake up
a
early just
small
naturally,
human.
but it's that, you know, not having to get prepared to do something for other people.
Oh yeah.
Right.
I just decided one of the things I wanted to implement, because I am, you know, with multiple businesses too, it can kind of get a little overwhelming. So I decided I wanted to rebuild some boundaries and lines that had been crossed. So I have decided I've marked off every Friday for the rest of the year. And if I want to schedule something, I will. If I want to work, I will. And if I don't, I won't.
Yeah.
Because I need to give myself that space and that grace, because on the weekends, you know, it's not that I can unplug. We're going to soccer. I'm playing a million different games. We're doing, which is awesome. That's what I love, right? But I need
different.
to map.
It's still
I need to map out time for myself. And so that's one of the things I've done.
So before we close out here,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and this kind of segues into it, definitely we're going to put your links up so people can find you and get a hold of you, your Facebook page and your, you know, so make sure you do that when you close out, and your Canva affiliate link. Canva is the graphics that we all use for, if you guys see on the Ditching the 9 to 5, I had a graphic designer do a brand board, Celine, she's actually in this group. And then use Canva because you use all those colors and it just makes things go so fast. So great stuff. But also, so closing out, what are a couple tips, 1 or 2 tips in closing for anyone that is at that point where they're not really sure what their business would be, or if, you know, they've got sort of that roadblock in their head of, is this realistic? Especially for somebody like you that's a mom, maybe, or is the financial, the breadwinner.
Yeah, so I would say you have to figure out, right, and spend some time by yourself and figure out what your dream is, right? So what do you want to do? What makes you happy? What makes you like all jazzed up, right? You could do it and have no issues. What makes you sad or emotional from a standpoint of like that will help you understand where you want to make an impact. So, and then I have a program that walks through owning your dream, and it walks through the whole process. And it's really neat, but you have to ask yourself, like, what do you want? What's important to you?
Right.
And that's going to drive it, right? What is your why? And most people, especially most moms, will say, you know, my why is my kid. But start digging. Why? Like, what do you want for your children? And why is that? And start digging. And so I would say that that's the big piece is to really spend time with yourself and write it down. Write what you like about your position, what you don't like about your position. What is your dream? And dream big. Don't hold back. Dream really big. Like, what does that look like? And then if you decide, for instance, let's say you want to become a coach, right? Then start reaching out to coaches in whatever niche you want to impact and talk to them and say, hey, because it's amazing. That's what you have to do to overcome your limiting beliefs. And this is another thing that I walk through with my clients. You have to find proof. So you have to talk to people and say, listen, I'm working through this limiting belief. Can I talk to you? Can you open up your books? What are you making? What do you like? What's hard about starting a business? So you have a real understanding of what you're getting into. And if you can start that before you quit your job and map out when it's a good time to quit your job, then in my opinion, my very humble opinion, I think that's the best option to go.
Yeah. And and Angie, you're great, and you've got this program. We want people to definitely know about it. And you know, the reason I use a coach is completely different. Everybody has their own needs, and the
Mhm.
fabulous thing about coaching is there really are people, like you said, you've gone, through different stages with different people. So,
Mhm.
do discovery calls if you're watching this.
Mhm.
See who's out there, and you can learn about
Yeah.
coaching just from doing some discovery calls and seeing what
Yeah.
people are all about. I think that's great advice. And I belong to
Mhm.
a ton of groups that are just specific to blogging, specific to
Mhm.
search engine optimization, the
Yeah.
group, Facebook groups, so things that you're working
Mhm.
on. So I think joining Facebook groups, if you're on here watching, you're obviously in a Facebook group. Look for ones that meet your interests and maybe the jobs that or the businesses you're trying to create, right?
Mhm.
So,
Yeah. And I would say the more, if you pick a couple handfuls
mhm.
and really be active in
Yeah.
those, that people get to know you, you get to build relationships.
Yes. Yeah.
Because in
And
my opinion, it's all about relationships.
algorithm tip, because yours wasn't popping up on mine, but I went and looked for it today and went and
Oh,
hit it. So, algorithm tip is you need to go to the little three dots at the top of your screen on your desktop and manage your settings and make sure, because Facebook automatically sets for all of these groups to just highlights, and it'll
mhm.
choose what's a highlight, what it feels is important for you to see. So if you really want to be engaged with a group, not just comment and like, which is important for Facebook to recognize, but go to those three dots, hit your settings, and then mark that group where you want to see all posts, not
I
just
need to
highlights.
do that too. Thank you
Yes.
for that because I wasn't seeing yours. Remember last night, we're
Yeah.
like, wait,
Yeah.
I can see you, but I'm not there.
You
And
gotta do that, because even the
mhm.
groups that I'm active in, not just the ones I've recently joined, it's
Mhm.
kind of, I have to look for them. The other
Yeah.
little tip I'll give you guys on groups, because anyone in here really needs to belong to groups if they want to,
Mhm.
pursue something further, is that you don't have to look at Facebook all the time as far as the personal feeds. If you don't want to see all the politics, all the arguing, all the things that are going on, or you don't care what's going on with Harry and Meghan, sorry guys, I don't. I know some people do. But if you don't care about all those things and you really want to just focus on the business side of it, when you open your phone, the
Mhm.
second one in, there's a little house, and that's your home feed. The next one to it are like three little people. You want to click that, and that's going to be your
Yeah.
feed for just the groups you're in.
Mhm. I use that all the time. That's
Me
pretty
too.
much
That's
all I do,
90%.
unless it's a weekend and I'm
Yep,
having some coffee and I'm like, oh, do. But
exactly.
normally that's all I use.
Me too.
And now it's amazing how my Facebook has totally changed. It's
Even my
99
feed is
is
showing
all
my group
business.
stuff. Yeah,
Yeah.
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 So, some great tips. Thank you so much for anyone that needs
No
to get in
problem.
mindset, male, female, 25 or 45.
Yeah.
Take what Angie said. It's really going to help. I can vouch for it because I'm on that mission, and it's a lot of the stuff I've been learning, and you're an inspiration. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it. I'll put in the comments below, I'll put
Yep,
some
all
links
your
and I hope
really.
to connect with you guys.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
Take care,
Have
Angie.
an awesome day. Bye.